Alrighty, what's up, moviegoers and true believers? Welcome to a Real Comics podcast. I am your host, Voodoo57. With me, as always, is my good friend, Speedy G33. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. What's happening?
Outstanding. Ready to talk some Deadpool.
Deadpool.
I think we've got some news to cover first. Just a few items that I saw on the interwebs today. A couple of things I want to bring out and get your opinion on. Then we will get into our spoiler-free review of Deadpool. And after that, we're going to go deep into spoilers because I think you and I have quite a bit to say about this movie, don't you think?
Definitely. Lots to talk about, but don't want to spoil it yet. Some people haven't seen it. Why, I don't know, but some people haven't seen it.
I like it. Very true. Very true. All right, let's get into my first topic of the day. So one of the things I caught on the Twitterverse there today is, do you know the actress Julianne Moore? She has signed on as a villain in the new Kingsman movie, Kingsman 2. What do you think about a female villain, Julianne Moore, in the Kingsman movie?
Oh, I like female villains. Should be pretty good. I didn't like Kingsman as much as you did, though, so I kind of missed that. Is she going to have a British accent, or is she going to be an American villain?
Well, that still remains to be seen. But I got to tell you, I like Julianne Moore. She's one of my favorite actresses in film. And let me tell you, that's you're getting Oscar quality acting there. So I believe she's been nominated several times, or at least once.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, got to be more than once. And, so you're bringing quality onto the set of the Kingsman. And I think it's going to further that franchise. I'm very curious. I'm excited that she's there.
Well, I like Vaughn. I like what he does. Yeah, it's a good cast. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'll watch it. There's no doubt about it. But it's not on my anticipated list, I would say.
It won't be an anticipation list movie. Yeah. So, depending on when that comes out and what it's up against, I'm not sure if that's going to be a Thursday night showing for me, or is that going to be kind of like a Sunday morning early, let it get to that moment.
You know what? Didn't Kingsman come out around the same time Deadpool came out? Didn't it come out around this time? I think Kingsman
I thought it did. I actually
movie too. So they didn't have a lot of expectations for Kingsman as well, and then ended up being a runaway hit.
Right. And then I saw it very, very late. Life got busy, and I ended up, the only way to actually I ended up having to buy it and just watch it. And I fell in love with it. And then it hit one of my cable channels, probably HBO. And every time it came on, I was watching a portion of it. That one really, there were some great lines in the Kingsman, some great action. Yeah, I loved it. Probably a little more than you did, but I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you think? Next topic? Next topic. All right. I got to ask you this because it's driving me crazy. I feel like I'm getting saturated with it right now. I want your general thoughts on the Ghostbuster reboot, man. We have a teaser trailer that's out there. It really doesn't show a lot. We've got toys that are plowing out there. Our Twitter feed is full of Ghostbuster stuff. This whole female cast reboot. What are your honest opinions of what you see for this thing?
Honest opinion, I don't care. I just don't. And it's not a female casting. I know people say, oh, it could still even have Bill Murray, and I wouldn't care. It seems like Ghostbusters has already passed on me. Now, what I'm hoping is as we get closer, it'll be one of these things where it's a pleasant surprise, and I really like the movie once I see something. But it's not on my radar at all. It'll sell toys. It's going to, the female cast is going to be a big deal, but I don't know. I just don't care. It's just not one of those remakes I was jonesing for, like, let's make Ghostbusters. Let's make Ghostbusters. I would have preferred revisiting the old guys again together versus this, but that didn't happen, and now we've lost one. So, yeah, I don't know. I just not high on my list.
I definitely agree with you, but with so much out there, I had to ask. So I apologize, first off. Second off, this brings me to a quick point where, as from a movie standpoint, dude, I am very fond of particular classics, and I think that Hollywood has these moments where they've run out of creative ideas, so their first thing is to jump on whatever's easiest or the quickest or most accessible to just go ahead and recreate. A good example was when we had people touch Poltergeist. I'm not a horror movie fan. I love the way Spielberg directed the original. I love the original. It gave me nightmares. I remember that stupid freaking clown. And then they tried to make it all like a serious horror movie. And to me, it ruins it. And that's just one example. Ghostbusters is another thing that I grew up with as a kid. And, it was cute for its time. It's just one of those movies I wish they would leave alone. Do you know what I mean? These reboots of classics, I don't need them. I think they should be left alone. Film stands the test of time, and they should be allowed to do so. That is my opinion. So I'm right there with you. I had to bring it up because every little flip and scroll that I do, no matter what media I'm on right now, it's all Ghostbusters, and it has nothing to do with the cast. Even if the old cast came back, I'd say, you know what, it's almost too late. There are movies out there that, maybe we can get into it another time that deserved a sequel or a reboot, and this just isn't one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Cool. All right, this one we're going to have a little fun with. So, of course, the new Daredevil trailer dropped the other day. I know you are a huge Daredevil fan in general. Please give me your extended thoughts.
They're doing it right. They're continuing. I see an evolution of his costume. Punisher looks good. He looks really, really good. The tone is still there, the dark tone. You have the religious undertones. And then, bam, at the end, you get Elektra. It's going to tear it up. It's going to be easily the best one that comes out. Again, it'll probably beat Luke Cage, and it will end up beating Jessica Jones. And I like both, but yeah, good stuff.
I'm ready, dude. I am super excited. You know what I'm curious about? Before I finish getting into how I feel about it. Do you think this is a Marvel thing? Who gets the credit for how this series has turned out and the direction it's heading? Because the trailer looks amazing. His suit looks amazing, and I almost missed Elektra at the very end there because the logo pops up and it's almost a teaser of the teaser, because I almost turned away for a second, and he says the word Elektra. He says her name.
Yeah.
So who gets the credit for, who do you think in your mind when it comes to a Netflix TV series should get the credit? Is this a Marvel thing or is this a Netflix thing?
Well, this is Marvel TV, which is different than Marvel movies.
Right.
So, Feige is in charge of the movies. Someone else is in charge of the TV. And I believe let's see. I'm not sure off the top of my head who's running TV. I knew, but it's escaped me. But it is someone who's been involved with comics and involved with writing screenplays on TV. So it's a whole different direction. And the only bad thing about that is that's where you're getting this headbutting of TV not cooperating with movie and movie not cooperating with TV. And then you add the Ike Perlman thing thing that he's just being a jerk and he doesn't want to work with the movie guys, because he lost his reign of control over the movies. He's the same guy who fights with Fox over stuff. So he's kind of
yeah. I'm really excited. I thought the trailer was great. I thought it hit all the right tones. And let me tell you, AKA Shane from The Walking Dead as the Punisher, man, I think he's going to blow people away. And I'm hoping, I'm not sure how this is supposed to play out for him. I'm actually hoping, good or bad. Again, we talked about this last week. I am a huge fan of that anti-hero and that anti-villain, however you want to term it. He clearly has I feel myself following right behind him.
This is a real anti-hero. Like that anti-hero thing has been thrown around about Deadpool, but this is a real anti-hero.
Right.
He is, he's the judge, jury, and execution. He just makes his choice. This is a criminal, therefore he's to die. And there's no debate. There's no due process. There's no, I'm going to arrest him. There's no, Punisher just ends it. So, yeah, he goes where places other heroes don't go. So other heroes have a hard time with him. He can have a relationship for a little while with, like, say, Daredevil or Black Widow or some of the other ones that kind of also skirt on the edge of what's good and bad. Right. He goes so far over it that the rest of them are like, whoa.
Yeah, see that and that. I love that kind of character.
Like Civil
Give
War.
me that kind of character.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you've read the Punisher in Civil War. You know, he comes in and he admires Cap. I mean, Cap is the ultimate because you know he's an ex-military man, so therefore to him, Captain America is a
Right.
military man. He respects him totally, and he joins Cap's team, and Cap gives him a chance and trusts him. And the Punisher crosses the line, and Captain America has to kick him out and has to send him packing. You know, and it's a pretty poignant moment in that comic. You know, to have the person you admire the most in the world send you packing because your beliefs are so out of whack, man. That
right.
you kill first, ask questions later.
Right. Yeah, and see,
or not even ask questions. You know.
Again, I mean, I almost see. You know, I don't want to keep going back to his character as you know, as Shane on The Walking Dead, but you know, before he was off that series, spoiler alert, he was much the same way, don't you think? I mean, that's what he wanted to do that in that series. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it's almost like he's playing the same character.
Not exactly, but yeah, there's elements. That's probably one reason someone saw him in that and they said, you know what, he'd be perfect. He'd be perfect. He can play that. I think the Punisher, Shane was a little nuts, where the Punisher's not really nuts. You know, he's in control of himself the majority of the time. He's aware of what he's doing. And he's not kind of going into a psychotic mad rage when he's doing this. You know, he's cold-blooded. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's like, okay, you're bad people, therefore you deserve to die. Simple as that. So I'm going to execute you. And that's, very serious.
Very cool. Yes, very excited, man. I am really happy. I'm trying not to say stoked because I think the more I say it, it's going to become a drinking game with any of our followers who send to watch us. So, so real quick, I just want to say I'm stoked. Drink. All right. One last little news item here. This one's going to be a little playful, a little fun. I don't know if you've seen it. They released the first image from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 set. Yep. Did you happen to catch this on the Twitterverse?
And they also confirmed that Kurt Russell will be a part of the cast.
And I was going to ask you that next. I was going to lead right into that.
Playing, but I'm not going to say playing because it may be a spoiler alert for people that don't follow the Twitterverse and don't
right
the sites that talk about the rumors and stuff. So I'll just leave it alone. But he's part of the cast.
It was cool to see Kurt Russell's there. Also, so in seeing the image, what did you think of Groot's character?
That's interesting. They're going for cute. This is Disney, so they're going for cute with Groot. They probably saw that there was so much positive reaction to his little dance at the end of this thing.
When he was still in the plant holder, spoiler alert.
Yeah. So they decided, let's keep him cute. Now, what'll be interesting is then they better beef up the Gamora a little bit and Drax because Groot was the muscle, so he ain't gonna be the muscle.
Well, it's definitely gonna have to be Drax, and I think we're still gonna have to need plenty of Rocket. That's for sure. Maybe even a little fatherly Rocket. Can you imagine that? Rocket kind of playing the father figure a little bit to little baby. So for those who haven't seen the image, and of course, you know we're on the air right now. It's just that classic, you know, heroes walking towards the camera, but in shadow, and you see on Batista's character Drax, you see a little baby Groot on his shoulders with feet and legs, and you know you don't see the whole one, so it's going to be a baby Groot. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this. I thought it was great as far as early release footage or images or whatever. I thought that was classic because it's already got me questioning and curious about what's next.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Now it's funny. Last week you talked about the Captain Americas being your favorite trilogy and all that. I think when it's all said and done, it's gonna be Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians is my favorite Marvel movie, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like it because it's too silly. There's a lot of silliness to Guardians that some people don't like. You know.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Dance off. At the
Battle
end,
by dance off. Hey, I have no problem with
things like that. But I really enjoyed it, and if done right, my only concern is as long as it doesn't get caught up in how it has to be connected to the Infinity Wars, it's going to be a great trilogy. Now that's where it could go off the rails, like where they start shoving in. Well, you got to show up here and meet Iron Man, and you got to show up over there. And interact with Thor, and that's where it could get cluttered. You know,
Right.
They don't let them be their own thing because it should be its own thing. It's I mean, a little crossover, but I mean a little crossover.
Yeah, I think I need to see more of Guardians of the Galaxy before I knock them off my Captain America series pedestal. But no, I could easily see that. I could easily see them being equal. I need to see what the second one's going to bring me, but we don't want to. I don't want to revert back to why I think, that Civil War series is so good. But I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to see what they're going to do, especially with that little tease. That's all I needed to see. There's a little baby Groot, and that was enough to say, okay, where are we going? And then, having Kurt Russell in the cast, whoever he may play, and how that works out, I think that's a good choice. I mean, I think he's solid.
There's not enough credit given to Marvel, these older actors that they're employing in these movies. Let's see. We've had Robert Redford.
Right.
Now we're adding Kurt Russell. Let's see.
Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. Keep going.
And Guardians, you had what's her name? Who played Nova Prime?
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close. I mean, you're adding these older actors. You've had what's his name? I can't remember. An Iron Man. The first Iron Man. Yeah, Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
And I mean, just think about these older, really good actors that have been showing up in these different movies. Sir Anthony Hopkins.
No, you're right for sure.
So this is just another example of them going out and really kind of filling the cast in with really good actors, even though they're small roles, probably a supporting role of some sort. They're not skimping on that. They're putting somebody that's going to deliver what small lines or small part they have. It's going to deliver it. So
I definitely agree. So you know what? I only had 4 of these little top things to kind of bring up, but I actually have a 5th because I thought about it while we were discussing these. Did you catch the teaser for a teaser of a movie in production, that being Star Wars Episode 8?
No, I did not. I refuse to buy into the teaser of the teaser of the teaser of the teaser. No, I'm not going there yet.
You didn't like the production teaser, huh?
No, I'm going to get bombarded. I'm waiting for Rogue One stuff, okay? I don't need – no.
Oh, man.
Star Wars out. No more Star Wars. So, no, I didn't catch it. One other thing. I'm going to –
No, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish. Finish because I don't watch into –
No, I was going to say, you know what? Because I am that crazy old Star Wars geek nerd, got to be first in line or first at the theater kind of guy, I was glad to see it. I have my moments where in the middle of production, whether it's Rogue One or Episode 8, I kind of want to know everything. I know a lot of people shy away from it. I know you're a fan of shying away from it. Our friends over there at the Movie Bears podcast, I know Jim, you know what? Props to Jim, because let me tell you, did you know Jim did not see any Star Wars trailers up until like a week to go? I don't even think he saw them all. And if he saw it on accident because he was at another movie and they happened to show it in front. And I believe we were all together. And the first thing I said is I turned to Jim when I could tell that the screen was going that way. I said, Jim, close your eyes. So he technically held off. I mean, could you do that? Could you stay away from seeing anything up until about a week prior? I know you tried.
I mean, I didn't search anything. It was just one of those issues of I'm watching an episode of Flash and they hit me with one. Other words, I wouldn't have seen it. Now, you know me, I'll read everything. I'll read everything. I'll read spoiler alerts. I'll read everything because to me, reading it doesn't change my. But visually, I don't want to see the director's vision. I don't want to see that until I'm in the theater. That's kind of how I feel about that. But
I hear you. I hear you. It was great. I mean, it's out there. I'm not going to get into to exactly what it is. It isn't a lot. Day one slate, click, here we go, Episode 8 kind of thing. Go check it out if you're a Star Wars fan. I mean, it doesn't offer you anything shocking or surprising, but if you're a Star Wars fan, it's kind of something just to peek in on and kind of get that feel to get you kind of through the year till we get to Rogue One and then on to Episode 8. I would say check it out. Anyway, any other thoughts? What were you? Did you want to ask? I thought you wanted it.
Go ahead and skip that. It's not that important. It was minor. Save it for another time.
You sure?
Yeah, it's not necessary. So.
All right, man. Okay, so ready to get into our spoiler-free portion of Deadpool.
All right.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm going to give a quick breakdown and rundown of the movie, and then we will get into it. Deadpool, if you haven't seen it already or didn't know about it, is about a former Special Forces operative turned mercenary and is subject to a rogue experiment which leaves him with accelerated healing powers, adopting the alter ego of Deadpool. Of course, this movie does star Ryan Reynolds. It also has Ed. It's hard for me to say his name. Screen. He plays Ajax. It also has Kyle Cassie, Karan Sony. He plays Dopinder in the movie, which is also very funny. There's a lot of people in this movie. What are your initial spoiler-free thoughts of this, Speedy G33?
It's a very entertaining movie. If you want to laugh, if you don't get offended easily, it's action-packed. It's not too long. It's just the right length. You know that Ryan Reynolds is very good. He was born to play this character. It's a good movie. You'll have a good time. You will not walk out of this movie disappointed. It isn't a well, I don't want to say it isn't a kid's movie because it is a kid's movie. It's like a grown-up kid's movie because it's not serious at all. But yeah, it's filthy. There's a lot of blue. So yeah, but it's a good movie. Definitely give it a thumbs up.
Well, you know, I love the movie. I thought it was great. It is dirty. It is filthy. It is foul at times. It is violent. But it's all in the right context. And you're right. Ryan Reynolds is great. TJ Miller was funny when he needed to be. He was a great kind of, setup man. Also, I want to pull up her name real quick because Morena Baccarin is sexy and amazing, and she's great in this film too. Great. I give it a thumbs up. I say definitely see it once and definitely see it twice if you can. And as always, for anybody who hasn't seen it, stay to the very end. If you're catching this, you're taking our recommendations and you go check it out, make sure you stay to the very end. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Speedy G?
I was going to say, and to us nerds, geeks, whatever, sci-fi people, we knew about Morena. She's not new to us. I mean, she was great on Firefly. She's great in Homeland. She's been, Gotham. She's done well.
I liked her in Gotham. I liked her a lot in Gotham.
Voice in Flash. So we know her, and she's been around for a while kind of in this. And she's also done a lot of animated work for the different WB cartoons where she's done voice work. So she's kind of been in our conscience as fans. And it's great to see her kind of get up there. And I hope this opens up some big screen roles for her.
I think she's going to get a lot out of this. Hey, what did you think of the pacing of the movie? I mean, I know that's kind of more my end, but what did you think? Did you like how they kind of worked the movie and kept you going? Did you like the pacing?
It was perfect. I think it was really done well. I think the third wall part of Deadpool, or the breaking the wall, the fourth wall. Was done extremely well. I mean, it kind of got off of here and there, but for the average fan, they made it very enjoyable and natural. Not like, what the hell is he doing? It just flowed, using it as flashbacks. So it was more like flashbacks the way they did it versus when he's doing it in real time a little more in the comics versus like saying, hey, let me tell you about what happened. But it was a great way to introduce that and not confuse somebody. I just felt it paced really well. It didn't bog down with the origin story. It just gave you just enough, because that's one of the complaints with comics now is origin stories. We've seen so many comic book movies by now that origin stories, unless it's a really, really good one, let's shoot that origin story, because they're all pretty much the same at this point. So.
No, I thought it was perfect, especially for people who don't know anything about Deadpool. You were right, exactly right, dead on. Just enough, not too much. They didn't overreach or overstep. They put you in one place and set you to another, and it was all smooth. It was a smooth transition. You know what else? I like the music in here. 2. The music in the movie was really good. I thought it was poignant at some times, and we'll get into that in spoilers. I thought it was great at another time when he's gathering himself together and figuring out what he's meant to do, kind of thing. In that moment, always the hero's moment. You know, what are they meant to do? What are they here for?
Yeah.
But all in all, I thought this was a great flick. Definitely a recommend for those of age. Okay, those of age.
Yeah, we'll give our review for the youngsters, because we'll try to do that for every movie. Yeah, you probably don't want to take your kid to this. And I'm a parent who's pretty open-minded with my little nerd. She sees a lot of stuff, but I can't take her to the theater for this one. It's just too much. And I'm, like I said, I'm a pretty open-minded for her seeing things, and I don't like to censor stuff, and she's 13, but I still think,
no, I have a 15-year-old daughter. I'm right there with you. You know that. You know, I could not, in good conscience, take my daughter to this, because while it is funny and there are things that I would care that she saw, there are also moments where I'd be going, okay, don't look.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
because we do that. It's like this is your close your eyes moment. You know.
Yeah, I can't do that in the theater, man.
But you can't, because he's talking filthy. So yeah, it'd be really hard to do it. You know, the violence, on the other hand, really didn't get to the level where I felt it was any more violent than any of the other comic book movies, to be honest, because it was done very cartoony. You know, you didn't see like broken bones sticking out of people as much, or, you know, it wasn't really like, you know, what's it called? How we just talked about, Daredevil's more violent than Deadpool, if you'd ask me. You walk away from a fight in the Daredevil TV show, and you're like, "Oh, that was violent." You know, it's just where Deadpool kind of cartoony that made it comic booky.
Right, I would agree with that assessment, definitely. So, you know, for us, I think we're both in agreement that we definitely give this a thumbs up and a recommend. On the kid end of it, please don't take your kids unless they are honest to God, mature, or younger adults, maybe say in their late teens to 20s. Even then, you know what I mean? You be smart about it. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw it. It was rolling around, and I'm not sure if Ryan Reynolds put it out first. I ended up catching it from another parent, and it was a release. It was a request from Deadpool asking parents not to take their kids to this movie. Mm-hmm. And guess what for? So they could make a second one, because if they took their kids to this movie and it became a really big issue as far as the violence and the rated R nature of this comic book movie, they were worried they weren't going to be able to make a second one. And it literally says that. Deadpool says, please don't do this. We want to make another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was rather interesting too. That was great.
When we get into the spoiler section, I'll get a little more into that whole rated R thing and what this is going to mean and all that. But
I totally
I'd have to spoil stuff to get into that a little more. So
no, I think we're almost at spoilers anyway. There's so much we want to get into and want to talk about. I don't know. What do you think? You ready for it? Any last non-spoiler free things to say?
No, that's about it.
No. All right. So you heard it from the Real Comics Podcast. We're giving this one a thumbs up. Please check it out. But keep in mind, don't take what we say for granted. Go and see it for yourself. But we're definitely recommending this movie. For your children, we recommend a very strong rated R style caution. So I'm going to give it a quick break. I think we're each going to take a gasp or a drink of water, and then we'll get right into spoilers. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right, drink up. That's better. All right, folks. Here we go. You have been warned. We are about to give you our review of Deadpool with spoilers. We're going to talk to you a little bit more in depth about all the things that we liked, all the moments that we liked or disliked. We're going to talk about Deadpool, the character, and how it relates from the comic into the movie, and all those kinds of fun stuff. So you have been warned. If you're watching us live, please, we're going to start talking about spoilers right now. 3, 2, 1. There you go. You were warned. All right. Spoilers. Hey, Speedy G, go ahead. What's the first thing you want to talk about?
The first thing I want to talk about, rated R. Rated R has caused, articles are everywhere. And I purposely stayed off the internet this weekend for that reason, because I knew people were going to make such a big deal out of this. You know, it's going to change the industry. Everything's going to be rated R. It's like we found the formula. And what I loved is this morning when I finally got on, James Gunn from Guardians basically said, "You are a blank. You're an effing idiot. Whatever executive who said that at Fox is an effing idiot. We're not going to have a big run on rated R movies because Deadpool is special, and Deadpool fits a rated R movie. Deadpool fits all these jokes. Deadpool fits all this stuff. It works for Deadpool. It doesn't necessarily work for everything else. So don't try to jam it where it doesn't belong. And just let Deadpool be what it is. It was a really fun rated R movie. And let it be its own little thing. Try, I don't need rated R everything else.
Right, that's for sure. I think it was definitely, I'm going to point out a particular scene in general, which was my favorite. And that was the scene where he's done talking to Colossus on the bridge. He's just gotten done wiping out about 12, maybe more than 12 guys. He used only 12 bullets to do it, but he took out like about 15 to 20 guys. And he's arguing with Colossus. And so he thinks that he can take and punch Colossus in the face, and he breaks his wrist, and it's just dangling there. And the first thing I thought of, man, was all the crap that the Coyote went through in Looney Tunes. That's exactly the first thing I thought of. And he tries to punch him in the balls, and what happens? He breaks that wrist. And in one of my favorite lines in the movie, so he turns to the camera and looks right at the crowd and his broken wrists, and he says, "All the dinosaurs feared the T-Rex," and he turns and he tries to spin kick Colossus, and he snaps his leg. It's just flopping around all over the place.
Yeah.
This is the quintessential, the reason it's so perfect, and it can't work with another cartoon, or excuse me, see, that's where my mind is already. The reason it can't work with another comic book character is it is only for Deadpool. I could only see Deadpool pulling these things off. Anybody else would look like either a copycat or just plain stupidity. It's Looney Tunes on steroids, on film, breaking that fourth wall, just cutting up rug, just putting people down constantly, and I was in love with it. I loved it.
It's a very unique situation, and I could even argue they could have pulled this off without a rated R. They could have.
Right.
With some good acting. Ryan Reynolds has been funny in non-rated R movies before himself. It could have been done. Now, the fact that they chose to go that way, fine. They went there, and it was done well. And I don't think they went overboard. But we are not going to see Spider-Man dropping bombs. We are not going to see Batman making a joke. We are not going to see these things. This is a very unique character, and with him, it is a joke. Everything's a joke.
Right.
He's insane. Let's get that out there. First of all, he's an insane character, and he's self-aware. He's aware that he's in a comic. So therefore, the joke's on you, that you're watching him in a comic. And he's acting up for you like a child. He's putting on a show for you. And the same concept I would take to the movie. He's putting on a show for you. He's grandstanding because he has an audience. If he didn't have an audience, in theory, he wouldn't be doing half of what he does. That's what a lot of
that's the perfect assessment right there. I like that he's self-aware and that he is grandstanding. I couldn't have said that part any better myself. I love the way this movie was shot and broken down. Almost, if you watch Pulp Fiction, harking back to that movie, it's taken in pieces and you're left to kind of build it together. This is one of those flashback, bring you back to the current moment kind of movies. And those don't always grab me, but this was done in such a good way that it leveled out the audience. And before I forget to say it, because I feel like we're going to get into so much stuff about this, I'm going to forget to say that, now I can kind of say this, whether he should be or shouldn't be, this is almost more of a romantic comedy than a comic book movie. There's a serious, with all the filthiness that this movie has to offer, I believe that there is a serious love story under here.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done beautifully. What do you have to say to that end?
It was done very well. And from, I've got 2 scores for this movie. I've got the thumbs up I gave for just a movie, and it's the general audience. And to make that thumbs up movie to the general audience, and I mean everybody loves, males, females, different ages, makes it a bit of a crazy date movie, but a date movie, is that relationship. Now, from a comic book standpoint, it kind of lowers my score because Deadpool wouldn't be in love with anybody. Deadpool's in love with Deadpool. And that's it. There is no way that he would spend an entire length of a movie concerned about what was going on with his girlfriend. He just doesn't do that. He's not into that. He's asexual. He likes males. He likes females. He don't care. He's about the moment, but they couldn't really, do that and sell a movie to everybody, I guess.
Right. No, that definitely makes sense. And I hear what you're saying. And the comic book, the ones that I have read, definitely that is what he's out for. Wade Wilson is out for Wade Wilson. Deadpool is out for Deadpool, period. And they've found a way to build a love story, brutal love story, no less, because sex was happening on every holiday. And while not necessarily gratuitous, on National Women's Day, I kind of had to cringe a little bit. And I don't know if I'm going to get into that one, but you'll have to see that one for yourself, even if we're in spoilers. But that was a bit of a brutal moment. So I still think it hit all the right marks in many different areas. And Speedy G, before I forget, what is your take on Teenage Negasonic Warhead?
I liked her, but
hope I said that right.
It's easy to like her because she really is almost a throwaway character in the comics, and she's nothing like what they gave us on the screen. And I don't know if you've read some of the stuff that's been coming out lately, how their budget didn't allow them, either their budget or politics did not allow. They asked for many characters and they got nope, too expensive. We don't have the rights, too expensive. So they threw her name out there. And they basically said, who? Yeah, you can have her. Because they didn't know who she was. So that allowed them to kind of do whatever they wanted with her. And it shows. And because they did what they wanted, they created a really interesting character. And probably the only character when I watch this that can really cross over into the X world. I mean, we can get into that later, that I'm not so sure that Deadpool would be able to show up with the X-Men.
With the real X-Men.
Not with Singer's X-Men for sure. And I don't think Colossus would work with Singer's X-Men at all. I was telling you that he's a bit over the top. He's cartoony, and he's got the cartoony Russian voice. It's extreme, but Deadpool's extreme. So it fits the Deadpool movie. But if that Colossus had come out in, like, say, Days of Future Past, that was the Colossus that was back there, fans would have been pissed. Fans would have been, this is disrespectful to this character. This is nothing like Colossus. He's a goofball, talking. They wouldn't have been happy. So this version doesn't fit with. So they're trying to create this universe, supposedly. I don't know if everything fits in, to be honest.
Right. No, I agree with you. I'm going to lean, I saw one of those articles. I'm going to stay away from budget, and I'm going to lean towards politics. And that is because of the line that is in the movie that is uttered by Deadpool himself. He walks right up to the mansion. He asks, Colossus and Negasonic Teenager for help in retrieving his girlfriend. And as he walks away, as smart as Deadpool does, what does he say? He's like, what? Why is it every time, I talk to you two, there's only you two? It's like the studio couldn't afford any other X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Bam! Zinger.
That's true. This movie had a tiny budget.
It did. It did.
It had a very tiny budget. It's a labor of love that Reynolds did. I mean, he gets all credit for this movie. All these Fox execs patting themselves on the back this weekend. No, they tried to bury this. It took that animated short to leak at Comic-Con to get this to finally be made. They've been sitting on this forever. Right. They had no guts to make this. And now they're all patting each other on the back, how we're going to make lots of rated R movies, and we've redefined the comic book genre. Typical Fox. They thought they had redefined the comic book genre of Fantastic Four, too. We're going to make this interesting family story about
and
we saw how that worked out. You know, there's a lot more whiffs than hits, you know, with the
Right. No, for sure. And then, you know, on that same kind of point, though, too, talk about Morena's character. I mean, that how she stands with Ryan Reynolds on. I mean, they are equals on every level there as a couple.
Yeah, she's good on screen. And again, to me, it doesn't surprise me. I've seen her in other things. She's, you know, she's an equal to one of our favorites, Fillion, you know, on Firefly. You know, he can definitely take up a screen. He's very charismatic, and she, you know, banters with him back and forth. While they don't cuss, it's bantering. So she's kind of shown that she has those skills to kind of bounce off of a comedic actor like that. I'm not so shocked at all with what she did. Now, I may be a little shocked that they actually gave her some meat, because I didn't know what they were going to give her in this. You know, if she was going to be an afterthought or she was going to be a legitimate player. But I was pleasantly surprised how much.
No, I thought they gave her a lot of meat, and that's what led to that end of this. You know, the marketing campaign, I've said it from the beginning, has probably been one of the best I've ever seen for any movie. And when they marketed this thing as kind of a romantic comedy, I have to admit, without seeing the movie, initially I just thought it was a joke, kind of a gag. You know, here comes Valentine's Day. Let's market this thing as a first date kind of movie. But now that I've actually seen it and seen how those two are on screen together, I mean, that's crazy. The chemistry, I haven't seen chemistry like that on screen since, and it's been one of my favorites. And let's face it, that movie caused not only a breakup, but led to a marriage. And that was Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Okay.
Because when I watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I could easily see those two people really in love. And while we won't see that here, I honestly felt that these two characters on screen were really in love.
It was you felt that they could be a couple, and
yeah,
there was a good casting. She did a great job. Again, I'm going to throw it back. Reynolds gets a lot of credit. He has done some decent romantic comedies in the past. He has skills. The poor guy has just made some bad choices.
Bad choice.
I mean, some of the movies he's picked have just been bad, you know. But when he gets a good one, you see how good he is and why people keep going back to him. Because
and there are several great nods to his screw ups. There in the opening scene, in somebody's wallet is a Green Lantern card. That just drew huge laughs when I saw it. Also, there's a moment where Ajax, the villain in the movie, is telling Wade Wilson before he comes Deadpool that if he doesn't shut up, he's going to sew his mouth shut. And Wade Wilson's reply is, "Oh, that would be a very bad idea." And don't they at some point in the movie even show the figure from that Wolverine, that original Deadpool with his mouth sewn shut and the knife? That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Oh, man.
It was a nice cleanse for Reynolds. He got to cleanse all that bad taste that he went.
Did he wash all the crap off of him, or do you still think he has more to do?
No, he washed it. And that's why. And so that's when I wonder, what are they going to do with the second movie?
Right.
This one, little budget, not a lot of expectations. Go tell some dirty jokes and do what you want. Right. In credit, it's a comic book movie. That's the other big thing. I feel like it's a comic. They embrace the craziness. They embrace the over the top. They embrace the colorful costumes, the ridiculous situations, the really cliche villains, everything. They just embraced it.
Right, and they even say that at the very beginning. There are nobody's names in the opening sequence, even though there are names on the screen. It's what does it say? Like, you know, typical British villain, you know, and then, you know, it's directed by some asshat or something like that. And that, you know, that was also very funny in itself. Something else I wanted to bring up when you were talking about that short, before I forget. I don't mean to. I hope I'm not cutting you off here. You know, we discussed it. I always wondered if the studio or somebody who really liked the film kind of released that short to get it out there. And I remember when it came out, I was losing my mind. I remember I all day long, I think I bothered you to watch it. You were probably busy, and I'm like, dude, you got to see this. You got to see the CGI version of what Deadpool could be like. And I think you ended up finally seeing it. Recently, this past week, I read a couple of good articles, And it came out that Ryan Reynolds himself leaked that footage because he felt everybody was being ridiculous. They didn't want to buy into it. And the only way to get them to see that it was a good idea was to get the public behind him, and they did.
Exactly, because we're going back to Fox, and I know you're going to hear this throughout podcasts as long as I do it, is I'm going to rail on Fox, because Fox has a history of that.
No, I agree with you.
Do not like comic books. They don't. I don't understand. They're just trying to wring some money out of these movies. And the fact that Deadpool got made, I feel like this might be an anomaly. I really don't. Like, I don't expect all of a sudden X-Men's going to be a hit. I don't. Because they just, famously, the head of the studio, we are not having any robots in the X-Men movies. There's going to be no Sentinels. Robots are stupid. The black costumes, well, that's not realistic to have the colorful costumes. Just they're constantly trying to make it more grounded instead of embracing the comic book. And surprise, this little movie embraced the comic book, and the fans came out, because that's what came out. The real comic book fans came out, and then college age kids who just wanted to laugh because they heard through the grapevine that this movie is going to be funny. But see, they're not doing that with X-Men, and they tried not to do that with Fantastic Four. They did everything in their power to make it not comic booky. And I worry that movie number 2, now it's a hit. Now we're going to give you more money. Now we're going to expect something, and now we're going to meddle.
Right.
We're going to put our nose into this mess, and we're going to no, we're not going to do that. And you know what? Can you clean it up this time so we can release it in China?
No.
Because we're spending more money on this, and we need to get those Chinese dollars. So why don't we drop this gag and that gag, and so we can get it in China? And money becomes a factor now, where it wasn't necessarily a factor for Deadpool 1. And that's just I'm really worried. That's why I don't buy the whole everything's going to get rated R.
Right. My hope is that Ryan Reynolds keeps his foot on the throat of these Fox executives. Because let's face it, I feel like that's what he did. Behind the fact that he had all these fans clamoring for more and doing that, he's got to have a say or not do it. And if he's not doing it, people aren't going to go see it. So they'll learn.
But there was a small investment. And when there's a small investment, that you can get away with a lot more. When there's a bigger investment, then you have more people in the mix. And those people, they meddle. They think they know best. Like I said, the silly executive running around, and now they say they're going to do Wolverine rated R. I think about it. Okay, yeah, Wolverine might be more interesting if he goes the Daredevil route. You know what I mean? Daredevil's would be a rated R movie, possibly, with its violence, because that's what you're going to do. It's not like Daredevil's going to start cracking jokes and you're going to see Daredevil in the sack, whatever his girlfriend is in this thing. It's going to be the violence that's going to get upped, and you have to kind of weigh that. Okay, is the violence worth not getting the kids to this theater? Is the violence worth maybe losing the Chinese audience? Well, I don't think we'd lose that for violence, but still, they're spending more, bigger budget. X-Force movie, another thing I've heard, we'll make X-Force rated R. Well, to bring the X-Force to life is going to cost you a lot more money, because there's a lot more expense on special effects. Again, you're talking about characters that require more special effects. And the farther you get into effects, the higher the budget, the more return you expect. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to rant too much on that rated R thing, but I think it's silly that everyone thinks rated R is the
No, I'm right there with you. I think it's a term that's being overused. I think that, and this might be something in our future. I think there have already been a lot of these types of movies, and we just don't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
We could go on and on, but I think we're going to save that for another time.
We talked about that, and off the top of my head, I probably could name 15 for you, rated R movies. And then I really sat down and looked at it, and there's about 20 rated R comic book movies out there.
Yep.
And some of them are Marvel, so it's not like this isn't the first Marvel one either. So So yeah, it just
the game changer part I mean, when people say that, I feel that it should only apply to Deadpool. It doesn't mean anybody or anything else that comes out. Seriously, people are overusing that word. They're overhyping that word because it's something that's so new. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be honest, the plot isn't exactly that original. Well,
no,
I mean, we talked about that. It's your
no, we talked about that too.
Plot.
Yeah, you can't get much basic than boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl, has to get girl back. Yeah. It's as simple as that. Again, that's why I go to that. It's really it really should be, when it gets classified and get thrown onto iTunes in the future, it should be under romantic comedies. Mm-hmm. I think it should. It should be under romantic comedies with action. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and it is comic book. It is a real comic book, and I give it credit for that. It's probably one of the most comic book movies I've seen in a long time. I mean, it's a comic book. You don't feel like it's not a comic book ever. The ridiculous nature of what he's doing, and outlandish moves, fight moves, and situations, and
those are commando moves, man. Maximum effort. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that opening scene, or the scene where he decides that he's got to be somebody, and they come up with the name Deadpool, and he stitches that first outfit together, and it's white. It's a white freaking hoodie with goggles, and of course he bleeds through it, and he's trying to wash out the blood in the laundromat. That was pretty funny. I like that. That's one of my favorite parts. Can you think of a part in the movie that just stood out to you that was one of your favorites? Anything that you can recall off the top of your head?
Not really. I just enjoyed the whole thing. There wasn't something that like really jumped out at me. I just laughed a lot of moments. I loved the action. Yeah, his fight scene on the bridge was pretty cool with it when he was counting down the bullets. That was pretty neat.
I know what we can get into. You know what? And anybody who's watching this again, this is going to be on the fly. So this will be interesting. Okay, Speedy G, the final fight scene. Where did that take place?
I have no idea.
Was that not a helicarrier?
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, no. They've said...
But so what is the explanation? I haven't read anything, but I saw that, and I was freaking out. I'm like,
not a helicarrier, because the helicarriers are shields, but there's lots of different technology and flying vessels in the Marvel world. So, but they can't call it a helicarrier because a helicarrier, is a shield vessel, and they cannot use anything to do with shield. That has to do with the contract.
Is that whole thing like how Marvel can't say mutant? And
yes, exactly. Marvel can't say mutant.
It's clearly for anybody who goes and sees it, or and I'm surprised more nerds, and I'm not seeing more articles about this, that was clearly meant to be whatever they want to call it. They were clearly fighting on a downed.
There were some when it first came out in that trailer. There was some talk about it, but it got quashed pretty quickly, and everyone just kind of like, whatever. Because everyone knows what it is. We all know what it is, but we know they can't say it. That's that politics issue that goes on between Fox and Marvel.
Well, I thought that even with
the relationship between Fox and Marvel.
That's good. It's so contentious, that relationship, because I thought that was actually quite interesting, whether they say it or they don't say it. That the first thing I thought of when they got to it, and I realized, hey, those are giant fans. Even I remember seeing the trailer when they finally added that footage, and I asked you to look at it, and all I could think about again, and this is the way my mind works because it's my favorite series, all the helicarriers that were in Captain America: Winter Soldier, and they were downed. So, I tried to kind of, put those two pieces together in my little jigsaw. I know it's a...
this was smaller, too. If you look at it, it's a much smaller vessel than those big ones that they had in Cap. Those are huge.
I still thought it was cool because, let's face it, that end fight scene could have been shot anywhere, but that's what they chose to do it on. So, I'm hoping to find out a little bit more later on.
You know, Fox is kind of like, when it comes to these things, they like to push the envelope. Let's do it, and let's see if Marvel throws a fit or not. Let's just do it, and they do that a lot. You know, we like, for example, the Quicksilver thing. Quicksilver wasn't originally in the script to Days of Future Past. It was supposed to be another character, and it was supposed to be Juggernaut. I think it was possibly. I can't remember now off the top of my head who it was supposed to be, but it wasn't supposed to be Quicksilver. And all of a sudden they made a switch and they went to Quicksilver. And it was almost kind of like in reaction to, oh, you're going to use Quicksilver? Well, we're going to use Quicksilver. They do a lot of that picking at Marvel. They're like, they pick at them because Marvel is really tough on them on what they can and can't do because Marvel wants the X-Men back. Plain and simple.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an ugly relationship.
I agree with that point, but since you brought it up, I have to say here and now that I actually preferred that Days of Future Past Quicksilver much more than I did the Quicksilver that was in Age of Ultron.
I didn't like either.
Really? Not even the old time in the bottle Quicksilver,
Don't even get me started. Why can the music play when he's going that fast? It'd be a note and it'd be over. So we hear a whole song. No, don't get me. I thought I didn't like him very much.
Oh, now you're getting into physics, man. You're getting into the physics of the whole thing.
And then you're right. The one on Ultron wasn't very good either. They both kind of fell flat. Neither of them were the right Quicksilver for me.
Right. All right. Very cool. Any last final thoughts on Deadpool? Any moments? Anything else you want to remind folks about? What do you think?
No, that was about it. Just, it was a good movie. Definitely go check it out. Don't let my complaining about comic book continuity and all that other stuff ruin it for you because it's definitely a good time.
Oh, not at all, dude. See that you're the insight. It's not about ruining. You're definitely providing insight not only for our viewers but definitely for me because there are times that I can wear the hat all I want, but it doesn't mean I know everything I need to know about the character. And you may see a little bit more than I do, and I can look at it from the other end. I thought it was a good movie. Again, I think we both recommend it. We definitely think people should get out there and see it. But it was good fun. But go see it for yourself. And if you come back and you watch this, let us know what you all think of this podcast, and let us know what you think of what you thought of Deadpool. That's for sure.
Definitely. Sounds good to me.
All right. Okay, folks. Well, I guess that kind of about wraps it up. We do have some great things coming to you in the future. We'll send you out a little teaser for that. So we thank you for watching the Real Comics podcast. I am Voodoo57. Speedy G, you want to give a so long?
Yep. Take it easy, everybody. Go see Deadpool. Catch up on your TV shows. Get some comics.
That's for sure. Definitely. Get out to the theater. Get out to your comic book store. Support your local comic book store. We definitely would love to see you do that. Also, a quick note. I will be guest on the Movie Bears podcast tomorrow evening. Look for a little note in our Twitter feed that will let you know what time that will go off. And we will have something great for you next week. Speedy G, do you want to give them a little hint about what we might have coming for them?
It's for a mature audience, let's just say.
It's definitely for a mature audience. All right, so we look forward to that. We will catch you next Wednesday, again at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Hey, that's Zona time. And for all of us here at the Real Comics Podcast, always be your own hero. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.